Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of January 5th, 2025. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. Boys, at a very special time, and it truly is so special now. Powerful energies are with us, and it is going to be this Monday that Mars will retrograde back into the sign of Cancer. Now, this move of Mars over 0 degrees of Leo and 29 degrees of Cancer, well, it took place before as part of this larger retrograde season. That was all the way back in the first days of November. And it was way back then that Mars was direct, but in shadow, moved from 29 Cancer to 0 of Leo. And since that time, we've had Mars moving through the sign of Leo. Early November, early December was when Mars officially went retro, and now here we are at this crossover point once again. It becomes important to watch what it is that's taking place for you in your life now, because in some way it might hearken to what was taking place back then, the last time we had Mars moving over this point. But more than that, it is about taking a deeper look, a more honest look, a more nuanced look. Retrograde planets are closer to the Earth than they might otherwise be. And so they are heightened in their symbolism and their importance and their energies in a sense. But I've found that what happens is a retrograde planet, its energies are being invited to turn inward. We are invited to consider our role in how this archetype might be manifesting for the collective. But more importantly, how is this serving us? How is this helping us or not? This archetype, this sacred energy that is a part of us. The ancients looked at the sky and they saw a dance and stories unfold of great gods and goddesses and their journeys and their struggles that all revealed something about the archetype that they represented and all the nuanced ways that that core energy might come forward. And it is in the astrology chart that we see how it is our personal connection to these divine energies live, how they come forward, and how it is that we become an embodiment of their very experience, so that they may continue to live through us. And it is at moments like this, when a planet is retrograde, and with Mars, the retrograde happens about once every year and a half. It's somewhat of a rare cycle. And especially in its rarity, we're invited to contemplate that much more deeply, that much more earnestly. Where is it that this core energy is being asked for honor within us? And are we doing it justice? Are we doing ourselves justice and bringing it forward in a way that is honoring of this lifetime, that is honoring of the divine manifestation and expression that we are in and of ourselves as we exist in this lifetime right now? When it is that we get caught up in the superficial stuff, right? We think that that means things have to look a certain way, they have to add up a certain way. Then we lose the plot, as they say. Because the plot really is that the soul is here to learn, to grow, to become something more. And that more is ultimately an embodiment of greater love and greater wisdom. It is to remember the divine itself and how it is that that very energy, those very energies, desire to shine forward. So when we allow that to happen, that so much of the material things of life, they have a way of falling into place. They find their perfection. It is as Mars steps into the sign of Cancer, it moves from the sign of Leo, which has to do with the heart and it has to do with pride. It invites us to look at ego, the healthy expressions of it most ideally, especially with Mars retrograde. It invites us to go within and to find that healthy balance within ourselves that knows that we deserve to take the best of care of ourselves. There are certain minimums that really are okay for us to ask for ourselves and also the people around us. But it is now, as Mars retrogrades into Cancer, this is a very different vibration. This is about care. It is about nurturance. And what is it that we truly need to feel nurtured, well nurtured at this time? There are certain types of nurturing we can only get from others, from the world, and sometimes we get it from people, but for the most part, ultimately, those people, and we're not always conscious of this, they're standing in for more divine energies. They become representative of divine love, divine nurturance. And that's okay, right? Intimacy asks of that. But ultimately, it's when we get caught up in the illusion that what we need is only in this direction, only with this person. Well, we start setting the stage for some disappointment, to say the least. And if we're lucky, it'll just be disappointment. And the disappointment ultimately comes down to the fact that this is just another human being. This is just a person. No matter who that person is, we can value those relationships and honor this at the same time, because ultimately what we're wanting is divine love, divine nurturance, divine care. And that is always there. It is there in abundance. The energy of Cancer has to do with the divine mother archetype in particular. Now, think about the different things that that means, right? The mother, archetypally, and like I am not to be a mother of a human child in this lifetime. I have been the mother to animals, that's for sure. I have held them like they are my babies, and I have loved them with all my heart, and I've loved many from that place of genuine service that I think is what ideally mothering energy is. But I have an amazing mom, I will say that. But it is that mother archetype. When you think about the visual, when we look at divine deities that represent the mom, we see a figure that is able to provide nurturance through its body. Again, this is archetypal energy we're talking about, right? It's not literal. You can know this energy and embody this energy without necessarily having breastfed anybody. But it is in this very embodiment that we find a being that is complete in and of herself, able to provide, able to thrive, able to be more and become more, able to multiply, able to bring forward the continuation of the energy of life, the perpetuation of life, and the creative energy that that requires. Archetypally, we see in these deities. But what happens then when it is that Mars, the ancient god of hyper-masculine stuff, right? The things that we think of as hyper-masculine, like physical force and athletics and war. And I mean this archetypally, of course. Lots and lots of women out there are excellent at all of these things. They excel. They are superstars in all of these things, of course. But archetypally speaking, we all have sacred masculine and sacred feminine energies within us. And Mars is the embodiment of the sacred masculine, which is about self-knowledge and an ownership of our ability to act on our own behalf, to direct our energies in the direction we desire to go, and allow that to guide us, that self-knowledge to guide us towards manifesting something we can feel good about, or at the very least embodying something that helps us to feel strong and connected to our own presence, to be empowered in that way. And it is Mars moving into this hyper-feminine energy, the hyper-masculine archetypal planet stepping into a sign, wearing the cloak of the divine feminine, the mother manifestation of the feminine. And to me, this represents a merging, actually, You know, I'm reminded of the flag of Mexico. Now, hear me out. I know if you've watched me for a while, you know Mexico is like mi casa de corazón. I think of it as like my home of the heart, if you will. From the first time I went there in 2012, it was like, wow, I'm home. This is where I'm supposed to be. And so I love to go back even now. And so on my recent trip there, in August, I hung out with my friend Yuridia Robles. Now, you see Yuridia on my channel. Thank you for welcoming her in the monthly horoscopes. I'm so grateful for that. You know, I was busy working on the yearly horoscopes, but I wanted to get those monthlies out to you, and she helped me out. So grateful for her. She's a brilliant astrologer. So she took me to this little town. It's called Tepoztlan. And this town is considered the birthplace of Quetzalcoatl, which is this divine energy, a god. Now, he is actually what is understood as Venus, right? The planet Venus was associated with this god. So they think of this town as where he was born. And I have talked to Yuridia over the years about the different symbolisms we see. And she was saying to me that this idea of the feathered serpent, it is such a strong archetype that shows up in Mexican mythologies and stories and cosmology. We see it play out in the sky. And what is the feathered serpent? It is a snake with feathers, with wings, a snake that's able to fly. And we see this play out in the art that she showed me there on the walls when we went to Tepoztlan and other places as well. And so Yuridia believes, and she is one of the experts of the world in Mayan history, mythology, cosmology, and all that. We co-wrote a book together. Really, it's her wisdom, our conversations that brought forward this book called Mayan Astrology. But having said that, she was saying that the flag of Mexico itself, it appears to be an eagle eating a snake. And that's based on a prophecy that is believed to be part of Aztec mythology, which was basically a people searching for a home. And they were told, when you go and see in the middle of a lake an eagle eating a serpent, that is where is your home to be. I'm being very simplistic here in my explanation. She's a lot more eloquent in helping us to understand this. But she was saying to me that that's not actually what this is. What it actually is a feathered serpent. And it became conceptualized this way after colonization, that it's an eagle eating a snake, rather than what it actually says in the text, in the mythology, which is an eagle merging with a snake. And that is the feathered serpent that comes forward. And to me, in that paradigm, with that indigenous group, this is a merging of the divine feminine and the divine masculine as well. Both birds and snakes have their embodiment of the divine feminine and masculine within them. And when they join forces, boy, are they ever a force that is undeniable, that is powerful, that gives birth to nations, that gives people identity and focus and awareness of just how strong they actually are, how multifaceted they actually are. As is the case now with Mars retrograding into Cancer. To me, this represents symbolically, as it is with the feathered serpent, the eagle merging with the snake, it is the divine masculine and divine feminine coming together with the hope of creating something more, becoming something more. It is this sense of empowerment that comes from the will to live, to life, but not just that, the will to nurture, the will to care, to actually care about ourselves and about others. That takes a lot of guts. In a world where we know that other people can hurt us, this is something that A lot of us learn at a very young age that it's hard sometimes to trust other people, that all kinds of people are going to come into our life, and people have a will of their own, and they're going to make all kinds of choices that have nothing to do with us. And yet we feel it so personally. Some people have these experiences right as soon as they enter this incarnation, with a parent, for example. Others experience this energy in other ways, as they grow, as they make friendships, as they socialize or learn to socialize, as they experience love for the first time or the second or the third, if they're lucky. As they move through life, they're going to know that feeling of having loved, but not having had the type of absolute care that we really needed in that moment, where we wanted somebody to be able to meet that and they couldn't. And it is now that we're able to see those experiences differently. All of us as part of our own unique journey, but we're also able to reclaim our desire to give care, to give love. You know, a couple of years ago, I spent about 3 months over in Costa Rica. Very, very special time, deeply transformative time, I will say. And when I was there, I met a dude. And when I met the dude was pretty good, right? We hung out. I thought, okay, yeah, we're just hanging out. I'm here in Costa Rica for 3 months, not a big deal. And then about a month into, you know, seeing him here and there, he said, hey, can I bring over my dog? I said, sure. He brought over this dog named Theo. And that was it. I said to dude, you know what? I've got a spare bedroom. Why don't you stay over? And you could stay with the dog. And I'll tell you, the guy was a lovely guy, I swear to you, but he had to go off to the coast from time to time because his family owned flower shops, and they would set up these huge sort of configurations of flowers for people's weddings and things like that, vacation weddings that people would have. And he would let me keep the dog for those days that he was gone. And I will tell you, those days, I was in bliss. I was in bliss. I loved this dog. And when I would call this dog my great Costa Rican love, dude would not like that. Dude would get kind of jealous, but you know, it was what it was. I loved this dog. And I remember the one thing dude told me, right? Because everyone you meet, they leave you with something that stays with you for the rest of your life. And I remember one of those things that will stay with me for the rest of my life from dude was, he said, we as people, we have a need to give love. And that's why we have pets. That's why the universe gave us animals, so that we could fill this need to give love. And I never forgot that. As natural as it is to experience love, even love itself can be an intricate balance of a give and take. And we have a need to give love. And I think that awareness that we have, that we desire to give love, that we are made more, that we experience more, that life is richer, that emotions become more powerful, and that emotions themselves are incredible gifts of being a human being. Well, they magnify when we give love. Just give love, wherever it is that it feels right to you. And I think this is going to be a huge divine lesson for a lot of us out there, especially once Mars reaches that crossover point. Now, it is going to be at the very beginning of next week that Mars will connect with precision in supreme harmony with Neptune. But I'm going to talk about it right now because I think that energy, we are going to feel building so much. It's going to be very strong as we get to the end of this week. All of us are going to be feeling this, and it is an energy that is of soul, of spirit, of wisdom, of being in a beautiful energy of being caught up. And it can feel like a high. Mars trine Neptune can feel very much like a high, but it's still Mars in Cancer. It's the high that comes from giving love, giving attention. But with Neptune, there's an awareness that what we're talking about here is divine love. That whatever it is, person, place, thing, or situation, they are actually a stand-in for the divine love we wish to experience, we wish to give and take. And when we understand that, any sense that what you need comes from this particular person and that's it, it goes away. Which means healthy detachment from a physical being, from another human who's just as, messy and learning, just like any of us out there. And instead, we remember that this is about our relationship with the divine. And that brings incredible bliss. When we connect with that, then we really have what we need to feel nurtured. And when we connect with that and are that nurtured, because that source is infinite. And I know that's a word we throw around a lot, infinite, but it truly becomes that much more of a rush to realize that universal love is in everyone and everything, and it permeates everyone and everything. And it's about feeling it and connecting with it and knowing it. Undoubtedly so. And I think that is the conviction that is going to grow more and more for more and more of us as we navigate later and later into this week. By the time we get to the end of the week, it is an energy that's reaching a crescendo of sorts. Now, there's another energy at play as well. And that is on the same day, on Monday, as we get Mars crossing over back into hyper-masculine, crossing into hyper-feminine Cancerian vibes. We're going to have Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius starting to wrap up an extended transit, right? We're done with the Mercury retrograde season. Last week, Mercury left shadow. But Mercury has been in the sign of Sagittarius for over 2 months, which can happen when there's a retrograde season. But now, in its last moments moving through the sign of Sagittarius, Mercury will connect in a conversation of tension with Neptune, and then will make a quick moving alignment with Mars, an alignment called a Quincunx, before Mercury changes signs, moves into the sign of Capricorn. Now, I find this rather fascinating because the experience, the vibration, the body is one thing. And the wisdom that the body has and what the heart knows is one thing. The mind can be another. And sometimes the mind can work with you and sometimes not. But the great thing with this energy is we get honest and we correct course very quickly in a snap. Once we see it and we identify it, we understand our power, we claim it. That is the gift of Mars, is to claim our power. And to claim our power on a level of mind is a very powerful thing to do. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of something that happened to me. And I'm telling you this because this story is funny. So don't feel sorry for me, please. This story is kind of funny. Okay. I'm in Tokyo. You'd never know that by this generic hotel room space, right? But yes, I am in Tokyo right now. So what happened? As soon as I landed in Tokyo, my stomach started feeling a little funny. And I had to end up being at the airport for like a couple of hours. And then I had to take a train and everything. And my stomach more and more. And I was like, oh my God, I just need to sleep. I need to sleep. And I slept just for a couple of hours. And then I got up and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm really hungry. Let me go get some soup. And I got some soup. And for whatever reason, my body did not want that soup. And then I spent about 16 or 18 hours just that soup being expelled from my body, put it that way. It was expelling. Now, I see this moment a couple of different ways. One is I had a Bumble date set up. Yes, I'm being very honest with you guys. I had a Bumble date set up. But of course, that had to be canceled. And I think that the universe didn't want me to go out with that guy. Didn't need me hanging out with that guy. So that's one thing that I'm going to trust the universe with. But the other thing that happened, which was so insightful, I mean, life-changing, was I remember I'm on the sink something very deep within me, like every last cell that might have had a little bit of this soup in it, was not allowing it, right? Like digging deep, coming forward. And I was there and I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. And then I start thinking about, oh, I have insurance. I have travel insurance. I can go to the hospital. Oh my God, I'm dying. And then I caught myself. I said, no, my mind is here to be on my side. My mind is supposed to be on my side. And then, and this comes from Trine, my aunt, who you've seen on my channel before. And then I started saying to myself, I have so much more yet to do in this lifetime. And I'm still over the sink, right? I am still bringing forth what it was that was not for me to hold anymore. And I said, I have so much more yet to do in this lifetime. And while I am there, hunched over on the sink, I start thinking about the things I have yet to do in this lifetime. And then I got myself up and I came right to this bed. And then I stayed in this bed for 36 hours. Yes, I did. And this morning I got up out of this bed and I was myself again. This morning when Bumble Dude was good and gone from Japan, that was, not going to happen for sure. Dude was gone. Then the universe is like, hey, get up out of the bed, go for a walk, go see the Hachiko dog, right? Which is what I really wanted to see in Japan. I wanted to see this dog. Now, there is a movie called Hachi, which stars Richard Gere. And when I saw this movie years ago, I cried and I cried and I told myself, one day I am going to see that dog. I want to go visit that dog. And that's really the big thing I wanted to see in Tokyo. Of all the amazing things in Tokyo, I wanted to see that dog. And so I came all this way. I'm walking around the freezing cold early in the morning. I was like, I got to see that dog. If I see that dog, then I know I came to do what I came to do here in Tokyo. And when I went to the dog, I expected this massive monument because there's signs everywhere saying monument, monument. And when I go, it's this little guy here, right? I'll show you a picture or a video of me jumping around. Yeah, that's the dog. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's somewhere up there. Still very special and a beautiful story. You really should check it out. It's about the loyalty that a dog feels for its owner. It's a very beautiful story. Okay. Having said all that, Mercury square Neptune, Quincunx Mars, your mind is here for you. Your mind is here to be on your side. Your mind is here to support you. What's real is the soul, and the soul is not the mind. The mind is a tool that you use to ultimately bring awareness to the soul. The mind is a tool that you use to conceptualize and understand what it is and bring language to what it is that the soul desires for this lifetime. But even that isn't really necessary because the soul finds a way to put us in those places, meet those people, bring us into situations that represent something about what it is that the soul is meant to do in this lifetime. And that is the only real thing. It is the only thing. Everything else is there either to serve us or to provide us with an opportunity to learn, as a tool to support us, to love us, or to give us an experience that ultimately is part of the soul becoming more loving, becoming more powerful, becoming more wise. And I think that is a lesson that a lot of us are going to be experiencing. Because Mercury, as we start this week, is in the sign of Sagittarius. And if Sagittarius is anything, it is optimistic. It is able to see the good in whatever might be happening. And that is part of what makes Sagittarius so special. Every sign has its gifts that it gives us. And it is Sagittarius that says, yes, we can. Yes, you can. It can happen. Go for it. Anything is possible. That's Sagittarius. But when it's squared by Neptune, we might lose it for a moment until, just like that, Mars comes along and shakes us out of it and says, no, you remember, you can do it. Everything is possible. And also, your mind is here for you. And you have so much more yet to do in this lifetime, so much more. So how about start imagining what that might be? Okay, so for me, I'm just going to say this. I'm on a trip right now. I'm going to a couple different places. Years ago, I promised my little cousins that I would visit 50 countries before I turn 50. And after this month, it will be 49. I will be at 49. And so I'm over the sink and I'm thinking, what's going to be my 50th country? I know I want it to be in Latin America. Like, what's going to be the 50th country is what I start thinking about. And I crawled my way back to this bed thinking about where that 50th country just might be. And with that in mind, I didn't need to get up, and I woke up 36 hours later and I was like brand new. And it was a good feeling, I'll tell you. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It is a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. I'm very impressed with myself because in one take, I did all of that. I'm not going to edit any of that out. That's what it's going to be. Like I said, I have been through it. It was just a few hours ago that I got up out of this bed and I'm making this video. Yes, I am. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm going to just put it out there just like this. Just like this, unedited. I'm just going to present it out there to you and you guys can let me know what you think of that. But having said that though, what do I love about this week? Well, I love Mars trine Neptune. Now, technically, that is at the very beginning of next week, right? The very beginning. But we are going to feel this energy growing stronger and stronger as we navigate further into this week. This represents a very special energy, a growing belief, a faith, if you will. As Mars retrogrades back into the sign of Cancer, we are invited to consider what being a feathered serpent in our own lives just might be. What it is to embrace both masculine and feminine parts of ourselves as archetypes, of course, that we all have within us. But what is it to fully embrace those within us? To embody it more fully? How might we be more liberated? How might we become more inspired? How might we find that much joy in giving love, knowing that we are made more as a result of it? Well, the spiritual frenzy of that is likely going to feel that much stronger as we navigate later and later into this week. And it's all a part of ultimately connecting to an awareness that it really is divine love we're going for. And we are about to magnify it that much more in our own lives, and hopefully in so doing, magnify it around the world. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here's some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you and your sign, log on to NadiaShawSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month, which choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiaShawSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. And thank you. I'm going to keep announcements super brief this week. Like I said, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of editing for a variety of reasons. One is, yeah, I really should be resting instead of getting all gung-ho on camera. But it's a lot of fun to get gung-ho on camera, I'll tell you. I really, really think so. But yes, I am just so grateful for you guys. Year ahead horoscopes are now up in the Superstar space at thefutureismagical.com or NadiaShawSuperstars.com, and on my website, NadiaShaw.com as well. You can get it as a download. I am going to be doing short horoscopes this week, and the short horoscopes are going to be looking at the one most important thing per sign, what you got to look out for, what this particular year is going to bring, that one transit. But of course, in the special horoscope, I go through a few really big things for all signs out there. I wanted the video to be like a standalone, even though you know that I do special horoscopes. So each video is at least 40 minutes long. I think one or two went all the way up to like 55 minutes. So they're all in that range. And even though you know there's going to be a Venus retrograde special horoscope that's going to be coming up in February, And that video in and of itself would be like 30 to 40 minutes. Still, I wanted to include it in this video. And then if you like what you hear, when that special horoscope comes out, you say, you know what, I could hear more, so why don't I get it? But if not, that's okay too. You get the year ahead. I talk about the rest of Mars retrograde season, even though there's a Mars retrograde special horoscope. I talk about Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, Uranus moving into Gemini, and the 4 eclipses we have. So that's what I go through for each and every sign in each of these videos. That's why each video took so much time, and it did take a lot out of me in a way, but you know, it's such a privilege to do this work. It really is. And if being in this bed for 36 hours taught me anything, was what a privilege it really is to be here with you guys and to have your love and your trust for what it is that I have to share. So just thank you so much. So stay tuned for the short horoscopes. I do also want to give a very big shout out and burst of gratitude to the incredible teachers who are starting over at Synchronicity University. I sat in on Maurice's class earlier today, not today, a couple of days ago actually, just when I was feeling queasy. I had just arrived actually. Like literally hours earlier I'd arrived and I was starting to feel a little queasy, but I hadn't had the soup yet. See, that's the thing. And so I decided to sit in and listen in. And oh my God, there is a reason that he is one of the best in the world. I mean, it is, when you listen to him teach, when you listen to him speak, it's like clear as day. It's the most obvious thing. Of course, this person would be one of the best in the world. One of the leading evolutionary astrologers on the planet alive today. And I learned so much listening to him about Mars retrograde, is what he focused that first talk on. And so you should be able to download that class as an individual class if you wanted to over at synchronicityuniversity.com. And we've got other programs that are kicking into gear in the next few days. Classes with our speaker series with Sabrina Monarch, who I love so much, with Key Tyler, and just a lot of brilliance to be shared. And so I hope that you love all the classes that are playing out. Thank you so much, you guys, for the love and support that you show for Synchronicity University, so that I can continue to bring incredible teachers to you guys and make really world-class quality astrological education accessible to the masses. That's the mission. We do things differently at Synchronicity University, and that really is the point, so that we can get these excellent, incredible teachers available to people who may not otherwise be able to learn from them in that type of an intimate atmosphere of an online class. So check it out, synchronicityuniversity.com. Lots of classes on right now. Previous classes are up there as well. And thank you for your support of the school. Okay, stay tuned right now. Short horoscopes are coming up. I hope you absolutely love them. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. 2025 is massive. We haven't seen a year like this in a very long time, when big players shift gears and change signs. But really what they're doing is they're giving us a little bit of a taste. You see, in 2026, we as a collective are going to step into a brand new world, the kind of change we haven't seen in a long time. All the outer planets in 2026 are going to comfortably move into either fire or air for the next years to come. It has been a long time since we saw so many big planets change signs in such a short period of time. But not only that, they are going to, in 2026, set up a larger configuration called a near Star of David configuration. And that is going to launch us into a very different world. The world that we started the 2020s with will be a very different world that we end the 2020s with. And 2026 really allows that shift to occur. But in 2025, it's like we get mighty close. It's like almost, but just not there. Some of these connections happen like almost. They're so close. They get in distance of a little bit of a kiss, and then they start to step back. They start to separate. And so this really is just a little bit of an inkling of what we are about to immerse ourselves to. It's like the universe preparing us for incredible change up ahead. From March 30 to October 22nd, Neptune will dip into the sign of Aries, and Saturn is going to join Neptune there as well from May 25th to August 31st. And these two planets are going to get mighty close, but they won't actually meet with precision until just before Valentine's Day of 2026. Now, these two planets are moving out of Pisces, which is a very dreamy energy. And it's an energy that has to do with our connection to everyone and everything. It's hyper compassionate, but also self-sacrificing as well. And this has been part of helping us to awaken to an understanding of what healthy compassion just might be for us. And it's also been a part of helping us to break through certain illusions, but also give way too much weight to certain other things that ultimately are illusionary. Well, when both of these planets move into Aries, it is like in a snap we wake up. It is the baby taking its first breath that the sign of Aries represents, and we are literally shaken awake with these big energies. The very dreamy nature of Neptune gets turned on its head. And with Saturn, the very starkness, the ownership of one's own happiness, well, we're able to become that much more in ownership of it. We take responsibility, but we might become a little bit of a law unto ourselves. And where it is that we are being way overboard with spiritualizing the self, the will, the adrenaline, well, we might see examples of people being carried away, going way too far with this. We've also got Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini, just dipping in from July 7 to November 7. And it is over this period of time that we're going to get a taste of Uranus moving mighty close to an exact trine with Pluto, but not quite getting there until the middle of 2026. Now, having said that, this is Uranus, mind, inspiration. It has to do with new thought, new ideas, and an evolution of ourselves and our understanding of what healthy equality looks like. Uranus is the planet of breakthroughs and of revolution, yes, but it's also a planet that represents human rights. Now, all of these will be topics of conversation in different ways than they have before. Now, as a collective, we might notice huge leaps forward in technological advancements in particular, and we're likely to see how certain technologies that right now seem so brand new become ubiquitous very soon over the course of the coming years. We're going to understand this just a little bit, get a little bit of a taste of this, and what that might look like for our world in a larger sense this year. Mars retrograde season continues, moving back and forth between the sign of Cancer and Leo. These two energies lit up. Now, for the most part, a week into this year, with Mars moving into Cancer, that is when we see how lovely Mars retrograde season can actually be, as Mars reaches out in harmony or supreme harmony with big power players, including Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus, bringing that much more inspiration, positive change, and stability into an energy that invites us to empower ourselves that much more fully. We're also going to have in April the last exact opposition of Mars and Pluto, which will be the third and final tense moment as part of this larger transit. By then, we're going to have Mars back in the sign of Leo, and this is going to invite us to look at ego versus healthy ego. Look at what it means to value ourselves versus thinking that we need to be better than others. This is a sacred lesson that a lot of us are going through, that you are special and all of us are special, and therefore no one is special, and that really is okay. We might feel inner tension and frustration, but there's also an energy of breakthrough here, of ultimate empowerment, of trusting our heart and letting that lead the way. In late January, Venus enters shadow, and we'll be moving back and forth between the signs of Pisces and Aries. What an interesting contrast, but also in a way helping us to see with love the journey that Saturn and Neptune have undertaken, and also what is yet to come. Wherever Venus goes, she does bring blessings, and she does invite us to understand from a heart level, which is part of the work we are set to do. Now, while Venus is moving through the sign of Pisces as part of this larger transit, well, she is going to meet Saturn and Neptune multiple times, a total of 3 times each. However, the last time that she meets Neptune is going to be when she's wrapping up loose ends at the very beginning of May, just before she leaves shadow in the middle of May. Now, Venus retrograde season is notorious for bringing people in our past back into our path. Now, sometimes it's us. We do it. We get in our own way. We call up people who, we tell ourselves, no, no, no. And then it's like, yes, 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 Venus is retrograde. They're more likely to come back or whatever. Yeah, be careful with that, because all is not as it seems with Venus retrograde, and especially this type of Venus retrograde with so much Piscean energy and Aries energy as well, which is so focused on the self, so focused on one's own needs, whereas Venus in Pisces is more focused on the dream and the illusion and the fantasy. However, we're not going to be able to live in that space because of ongoing conjunctions to Saturn. Just when we get comfortable in what could be and the beautiful hope and the wish, we are shaken awake in ways that feel downright uncomfortable. For all that, though, Venus retrograde does invite us to ask ourselves, do I love it? Person, place, thing, or situation. Where there's love there, it's going to amplify that much more. It'll be evident to us through the experiences we have during Venus retrograde season. But if love is not to be there, well, it might be hard, but we have the experiences we need so that once Venus goes direct, we're able to accept it and make choices based on the truth that we now know. We want love that's real, that's there, and that's honoring of us and the love that we bring. And if all of that wasn't enough, we've got 4 eclipses, 2 eclipses in the sign of Virgo, 1 in Pisces and 1 in Aries as well. Now, those 2 in Virgo are incredibly interesting because they are both exactly opposite Saturn. And so even with lovely aspects playing out in supreme harmony with Uranus, which suggests surprises that we love, that bring changes to an area of life out of nowhere, there's Saturn opposition. And that suggests that there are things there that leave something to be desired, where we feel restricted in some way, and we're aware of the limitations of whatever newness or opportunities or changes might be afoot. The last eclipse of the year in Virgo, taking place in September, happens at 29 degrees. That is an anaretic degree. It is the very end of the sign of Virgo. There's going to be a lot of intensity in the air, but that Saturn opposition is going to make it feel that much more frustrating at that time. And yet it is a solar eclipse. With the ending of the last degree of the sign will also come a bold new beginning. The solar eclipse in Aries at the end of March is speaking in harmony with Jupiter and with Pluto. I love this energy. As far as eclipses go, this is incredibly empowering. It shows us something about how it is that new opportunities can come seemingly out of nowhere. They may have a surprise factor to them, but ultimately they energize us towards action. And through focus and belief, we're able to make the most of those opportunities now. Early September brings with it a lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. Now, this eclipse will be hand in hand with Mercury, speaking in harmony with Jupiter. So it's filled with quick moves, synchronistic moments, but ultimately our faith bringing about positive opportunities at this time as well. Now, Jupiter, for that matter, is going to change signs in June. And this is rather fascinating because normally when the sun meets Jupiter in the sky, astrologers like to call that the luckiest day of the year. However, this year is going to be a little bit different. And that is, as we get to the end of June and the sun and Jupiter meet, both of these planets are going to reach out in a square, a configuration of tension with Saturn and Neptune. And that negates some of this sense of the luckiest day, but it does make it an incredibly consequential time. This may feel downright frustrating. We have hope, we have faith. There are things that we want to manifest and we can see it in a big and bold way. And yet there are certain realities, there are certain illusions that we may need to break free from so that we can actually have a plan and see it through to fruition. There is no magic pill, but there is a magic process. Are we going to embrace the process itself to get us to that great luck we're hoping for? Well, that'll be the question that a lot of us are asking ourselves. just as Jupiter is in the early days of moving into the sign of Cancer. All that and so much more is what I cover in the year ahead special horoscope over on my website, NadiaShah.com, available for instant download. And you can watch it right now in the Superstar space as well over at thefutureismagical.com. And if you want to see an overview of what these big energies mean for the collective, check out my conversation with Michael Barwick on my YouTube channel now. Now, what these big energies mean for you and your sign, well, it depends on your sun, moon, and rising sign. Take all three into consideration and then synthesize the information to make it relevant for you. And now I'm going to talk about the one single thing that your sign needs to be mindful of. The most important thing for your sign of all these things I mentioned, what's going to affect you most, that's what we're going to look at right now. But I go through all of these things I touched on for each and every sign in those very extended videos that I have up at my website, NadiaShah.com, available for instant download now. Aries, if anyone is going to have a consequential year, if anybody is going to feel like everything turned on its head, everything changed, I think it's the Aries out there. You've got Saturn and Neptune both moving into your sign. You get a little bit of a taste of this energy. Saturn is about taking ownership for your happiness and understanding when you do that, that is the path to self-respect and keeping promises to yourself. It's not dependent on anyone else or anything. Let the world be the world, but you focus on you and what it is that brings you a sense of peace. And if that means contributing to the world, you go ahead and you do that. But in the process, make sure you stay strong and you stay solid on your end. Neptune is going to give you faith and compassion and help you to feel that much more sensitive and artistic to the world around you. But then you add an eclipse that's set to take place in your sign in the early part of the spring. This is going to be a brand new identity that opens up for you really quickly. And if that wasn't enough, we are going to have a Venus retrograde that's going to spend part of the time in your sign and part of the time in the sign just before yours. This is all about love. Loving yourself is a part of it. But yes, do I love this person, place, thing, or situation? You, in the first part of the year, are about to find some very honest answers. And in so doing, it changes things for you. It really is a game changer. Because where there is not love, it just isn't going to last past the middle of the year going forward from here. Taurus, Uranus leaving your sign. I think that you've probably gotten used to operating at a higher frequency than everybody else since 2018 when Uranus first stepped into your sign. Now you're going to get a little bit of a respite. And so as Uranus leaves, I think the first thing you're going to notice is a shift in your own energy that brings a sense of calm and a greater sense of ease to you, where you're able to then restore, reawaken your more patient and diligent self. However, Uranus is going to move into a financial part of your sky, having to do with money you earn, money you spend, self-love, and self-esteem. And over the course of the coming years, it's about guiding your finances to align them with a higher calling, a calling that has to do with some truth about you without compromise and making money in a way that feels a lot more independent. And you might find some real wild gains made at unexpected moments. This and an awareness around what healthy self-love looks like for you, an awareness around how it is that really opportunity can just show up for you in a flash and change everything for you, just might be one of the more important vibrations you start to get a sense of now. Gemini, Uranus is entering your sign from July 7 to November 7. This is huge. This is a little bit of a taste. Overall, a transit of Uranus lasts about 7 years, and it is going to be in the middle of next year that Uranus will move in for a nice long stay. And this is going to be a time of your life that stands out for a very long time to come, if not the rest of your life, because this is you getting a wake up and a shake up. It's you releasing anything superficial, getting to some essential truth about you. in moments that feel instantaneous, that feel as if out of nowhere a flash of lightning came in and changed just about everything, including who you know yourself to be, what matters to you most, and what matters to you first. Wherever it is that you've gotten caught up in a direction or in people, places, things, situations that just are not a part of what it is that you are meant to do, the soul is meant to do, what it is to be uniquely you and to live in alignment with who you've been created to be, not just reliving patterns that you've been conditioned to have. Well, that is going to be part of what feels like that much more, that it shakes you wide awake. Your life is about to become more your own than ever before. And this in turn gives you so much power, so much agency, such a bright light that very likely will be recognized not only by yourself, but by others as well. Now, whether this shows up in terms of brilliance, in terms of new ideas, in terms of you not realizing just how smart you are and you're going to decide to honor that part of you, or it shows up in terms of your life going through major changes. You realize where you've been betraying yourself. Now, this might also mean fame, but in our day and age right now, fame lasts about 5 seconds. Well, you just might get your 5 seconds or your 15 seconds or your 15 minutes, because that's how quickly it is that Uranus operates. It takes whatever it is that you're doing and it can take it to the masses very quickly. And it's up to you to decide to make sure that whatever is expressed, it represents some truth about you, so that you can see it as a crowning moment and yet not overly identify with it. What matters is who you are. Being true to that is what really will have you standing out. Cancer, the most important aspect for you in this new year is going to be Mars retrograding back into your sign a week into the brand new year, and will be in your sign right into April. Now, this is actually the sweet spot of the larger Mars retrograde season that started way back in October of 2024, when Mars first went to shadow in your sign. Well, now here we are, and as Mars is moving through your sign, is going to repeat wonderful, encouraging alignments of supreme harmony with Neptune, in harmony with Uranus, but also is going to hang tight a supremely harmonious alignment with Saturn through much of February and into March as well, as Mars slows down to stand still and go direct. That is going to be such an important moment for you, one that'll likely stand out for a very long time to come, because this is where you get honest with yourself about your power. You get honest with yourself about what you really want, who you really are, what you really want to do, and where is it that you've accepted way less than you deserve. What is it that's worth fighting for in your life? And where is it that you've been wasting energy fighting in a particular direction that just is not your fight to fight anymore? That isn't where you want to spend your energy. Your answers are going to be uniquely your own, but this is an awareness and an awakening of your power, and nothing less than that. This is the gift of this time. And once you get a taste of your own power, it is an adrenaline rush. It is such a high that it becomes something you want to cultivate. And that is a relationship that you really can cultivate for the rest of your life. That journey starts now. Now, if all that wasn't enough, Jupiter is going to enter your sign also. At the tail end, just as you're done the Mars retrograde season, here comes Jupiter. Now, it does start off a little challenging with the Sun meeting Jupiter at the end of June in your sign, squaring Neptune and Saturn. There are some difficult truths there that you may need to look at, and perhaps even related to your understanding of what a higher, more loving vision for your life might be, and how that might be different than what it is that you had conceptualized. Or it could be that there's just more work to do. Your answers are going to be uniquely your own. But this is the tough spot right out of the gate. And then things get a lot easier. As Jupiter moves forward, we've got lots of sweet moments that take you right into the middle of next year as well. Jupiter loves being in your sign and is going to magnify a sense of faith and blessings for you, not just for this year, but stepping into next year as well. Leo, Mars moving in and out of your sign just might be the most important thing of 2025 for you. But it's not just about that, but how it is that this Mars retrograde season is actually setting you up for a huge 2026 ahead. It is going to be in the middle of 2026 that Jupiter is going to enter your sign, and in so doing is going to set up one of the more important pieces of a larger and rare configuration of supreme harmony, a near Star of David configuration that's going to play out in the middle of 2026. You and Jupiter in your sign is going to play a key role in the brightest blessings that you have yet to receive. But this year, it is about being honest with yourself, clearing space, owning your power, looking at your own resistance, looking at some deep-seated anger, and deciding who you want to be. What is authentic power to you, and where are you squandering your power, thinking that a show of power is what it's really about? This honesty won't always be comfortable, but it will be necessary. Now, the moments of discomfort, that is going to come when we get Mars in your sign opposite Pluto. The first opposition happens on the 3rd of January, a huge day. And then the second opposition happens on the 26th of April, just as Mars re-enters your sign. Now, the Mars retrograde season will be over at the beginning of May, but it is going to be Mars that stays in your sign right to the middle of June. And that'll be ample opportunity for you to practice and magnify the sacred learning that you've been through over the course of the retrograde season, all ultimately as part of that divine preparation to understand how it is that you are going to embrace this upcoming hugely significant transit of Jupiter entering your sign in 2026. Virgo, the most important aspects for you are going to be the fact that the South Node moves into your sign, and that we have 2 eclipses taking place in your sign as well. A lunar eclipse in early March and a solar eclipse in late September. The first eclipse of the year and the last eclipse of the year is happening in your sign. Both eclipses are speaking in supreme harmony with Uranus. There is a delightful surprise a minute. You are lit up. Things are moving really fast and bringing great delight and surprise and elation. Enjoy it fully. However, what we also have taking place is tight oppositions to Saturn and oppositions to Neptune as well, which tells me that along with this sense of things changing very quickly, there's also an awareness around the limits of your own power, and that things can't necessarily be as ideal as you might like or expect. There are factors there that you may wish were different. And in some cases, you might be evaluating new opportunities that come up and asking yourself whether or not it's worth it. They might come with more supervision, more responsibility, without necessarily feeling like the responsibility is balanced out with what it is that you get. Now, your decisions, your answers are going to be uniquely your own. And yet, whatever you decide, know that this time, it's like the final answers for you, they're already written. That's what happens with eclipses. Now, when we have an eclipse in your sign, it means that your identity itself is seen differently. And it is not uncommon for people to be plucked off one path and brought onto a whole other path. And it is that path that you were always meant to be on, but maybe went astray. Dramatic changes become possible here to just about any area of life, whether it's changing work, changing relationships, changing jobs, and your understanding of who it is that you are and how that shows up in all of your moments. Well, those words you use to say who you are, those words might change. And that's what is required sometimes. When you see yourself differently and you know yourself differently, it doesn't take years in the making. It can be an instant. That often can be enough to put you on a whole other path. But make sure, especially with that eclipse happening in late September, that you are being very kind and gentle to yourself. That is a 29-degree eclipse. There's a lot of very intense energy in the air, frustrating energy as well. But ultimately, If you can embrace with love whatever is coming forward for you, you will be held by the universe in great love and you will be made better for it. Libra, 2025 is huge in your understanding of partnerships of all kinds. Now, partnerships are a really big deal to the Libras out there. They know themselves in relation to another. And you have got two big planets moving into your opposite sign, Saturn and Neptune, plus you have got a Venus retrograde season taking place, partly involving your opposite sign as well. Now, as part of that Venus retrograde season in the first months of the year, there is a difference between how you are perceiving a person, what you're projecting onto them, and what they're actually showing you in the details, in those small moments. And that difference might actually represent a jolt, especially where it is that you find yourself investing a whole lot in an illusion. That is going to be something that you have to be mindful of. And this really is the very beginning of that. And that is because Neptune is all about illusions and projection. And just when you think you have found your soulmate, the great love of your life, you will have to be reminded with a thud that this is a human being and that relationships and partnerships of all kinds, work and personal, require work. Where it is that you are already in a healthy relationship, well, the work will be undertaken with an open heart and those relationships can grow that much stronger. But if you are not in the right relationship for you, there's not a whole lot you can do to keep things going. With Saturn included moving into your opposite sign, even though it's just for a taste right now, that is going to get you really honest. Wherever Saturn goes, it asks you, can I do this for the rest of my life? That's the guiding question with Saturn. Can this go on for the rest of this incarnation or not? And if the answer is no, well, this is where you start to take practical steps to figure out what going another way might be for you. Now add to this an eclipse in your opposite sign. Add to this two eclipses in the sign before yours, a part of the sky that has to do with karmic closures, but also karmic blessings as well. And you can see that something's got to give, something's got to change. That includes in your understanding of whom you want to be with. This can bring with it very different partners than you've ever been with before. And that just might be part of your truth. Truth in love is going to matter to you. This is going to be a full embrace and understanding of what it is that you most desire to move towards next. Your answers might surprise you, but when you're on the right track, it does have a certain flow with it. Watch what happens at the eclipse in the first days of spring of 2025. That's where, out of nowhere, some key karmic meeting takes place, and it ends up being a game changer. It might be in love, yes, but it might also be in terms of your professional life as well, where you come to see how much better off you are by joining forces with another. Scorpio, the most important moments for you of 2025 are going to involve Mars opposite Pluto. This is your ancient ruling planet Mars and your modern ruling planet Pluto. Pluto is now comfortably at the foundation of your chart for a nice long stay of 20 years. And it is Mars right now moving through the top of your sky. And although as part of the Mars retrograde season, Mars is moving in and out of here, the oppositions of 2025 take place activating these two areas, the most private and the most public. These are considered especially sensitive areas of the chart. They have a way of speaking to just about every area of life going forward from there. And this is your understanding of your roots and who you used to be and whom it is that you're becoming, who it is that you want to be, all of it reconciling itself with each other. This doesn't necessarily have to be a fight. You can take the best of who you were before and use it as part of understanding the destiny and legacy that you are now aligning with. You can take whatever it was that you thought was so worthy of achieving and understand how whatever efforts you took in pursuit stay a part of you. They inform things within you that you like about yourself and that you can continue to evolve in that direction. But evolution does mean for you interpreting the past differently. in a more empowered way, and maybe even dealing with some of the hurts of the past so that they don't speak to your present or say anything about your future anymore. But it is ultimately this very tension that is especially strong right around the 3rd of January and the 26th of April. These are the big days for the Scorpios out there. There's a lot of tension and frustration for a lot of us out there in the air, but that's going to feel especially on the surface for you. Whether this is showing up with bosses and people in positions of authority, very possible. Whether this is showing up with family dynamics, pushing your buttons, very possible as well. In some way, you are having to reconcile. And that reconciliation means making peace with what you want, where you're going, embracing it fully and bravely, even when it's hard to claim it, to state it, to let it be known, but also to know that you have no power over the past, to reconcile and make peace with what already has been, to know that you don't need to abandon it completely to prove that you're someone different now, but you can take some of the best and bring it forward and realize that whatever was before, you're just not that anymore. And it's okay to accept that. It's being true to yourself by saying that you no longer are who you were. This is a defining moment, and I don't say that lightly. This is rare energy. Now, even though for the coming years, anytime Mars stands across Pluto for the next 20 years, as Mars stands across Pluto about once every 1.5 to 2 years or so, well, it is going to be in these areas of the chart, but there's nothing like this year, like right now, because this is an ongoing dance. This is part of a rare retrograde season. And it's awakening these key areas of you and your life now. In addition, I'm going to add this layer. Saturn and Neptune both are going to leave fellow water sign Pisces just for a little bit in the middle of this year, more permanently next year. And this heart-oriented part of the sky has to do with what you want in your heart of hearts in every area of life. And it also has to do with romance and flirtation. When these big planets leave here, it's like finally, after years, you just might see these matters differently in some way. What you thought was true love, what felt like bliss, what had you swept up in the moment, swept up off your feet, it's like that stuff just isn't going to work for you anymore. You want love in the nitty gritty. You want inspiration and something ideal that shows up in the details, in the small moments as you move through your day. That's not just about romantic love. That's also about self-love as well. And learning to take small moments as you move through your day and see them as acts of self-love itself are a powerful way that you start to build a whole new way of moving through your days, of moving through your life, and your existence itself goes through a positive transformation. Sagittarius, the most important aspect for you of 2025 is likely going to be the move of Jupiter. Now, for the first half of the year, Jupiter is moving through your opposite sign. This is bringing not just a focus on partnership and the ability to attract one-on-one alliances that are beneficial to you. Yes, that is there. And that is valuable to you without a doubt. But Jupiter is your ruling planet. And wherever Jupiter goes, it's like that area becomes important to you. It's where you find yourself as well. But consider that when Jupiter is in your opposite sign, it's like opposite you. And Jupiter represents something that feels more ideal, more hopeful, more optimistic. And whatever that vision looks like for you in any area of life might feel further to you at this time, and yet you can see a pathway of how it might just find its way to you. There's more work to be done to move towards a more ideal future, but it absolutely can happen. It is your faith that has carried you through many times over. Just because it feels like some dream, some hope, some wish, some ideal is far, doesn't mean it's impossible. Far from it. Trust the process that gets you there. It is halfway through the year that we have Jupiter, your ruling planet, changing signs and moving into a part of the sky for you that has to do with profound change, truth, transformation, and regeneration. And it has to do with your understanding of power, how you understand it, how you wield it, how you embody it is going to start to become incredibly important to you. You add to this part of the sky has to do with truly being vulnerable to yourself and to others as well. And it has to do with wealth and your ability to harness it. Well, you are going to have that Jupiter out of the gate in late June, meeting the sun, but then speaking in conversations of tension with Neptune and with Saturn. This is a difficult configuration, but it represents a moment that will come and go rather quickly. And it's a moment that's necessary because it's an honest evaluation of where you are in all these areas and how you feel about it. What is power to you? How are you going to harness it, to claim it, to embody it, to own it, to magnify it for yourself? What is wealth for you? How secure do you feel in your definition of wealth or not? You're about to get honest with yourself with that as well, even if it's hard. Now, the great thing is with energies like this, there's enough frustration to promote action, which means that you're not going to be lazy. You're not going to feel like, oh, woe is me. That's not a Sag anyways. But it's going to be a time when you are deciding something about what wealth is to you, what power is to you, what needs to change, what not, what you're moving towards. And you're making, in some cases, sweeping changes at this time. It's working through frustration that you're able to make tremendous gains, feeling that much stronger, more secure, more powerful through the action. It's what you earn in the process. Capricorn, one of the most important aspects of 2025 for you, it's going to be multifold. Now, on the one hand, it's the Mars retrograde season. It is going to be from early January right to the middle of April that the Mars retrograde season taking place in your opposite sign is ultimately going to be one that is speaking to other power players in harmony. This is very encouraging. However, it is this aspect that is also going to involve moments that are more challenging for you. As in January in particular, we're going to have the Sun and Mercury both standing across that Mars. That represents a real moment of tension, maybe even conflict in a one-on-one alliance. It could be a business partnership. It might be a romantic alliance, but there's a need to confront a situation, even if it's hard. Now, it could have to do with relationship patterns or partnership patterns on your part that you're looking at differently. The opposition itself makes it feel as if your understanding of your power is outside of you in some way, that you want to grasp it, you want to hold it, but it isn't necessarily as clear as you would like or as easy to grasp as you may like. But the thing is, Mars will be making incredibly beautiful alignments, including it's going to station direct in February and even into March in supreme harmony with your ruling planet Saturn. I love this energy for you. It does suggest that you are going to start to feel that much more strong within. Regardless of what might be happening with another person, you are going to find a way to sail through this time, to say what you need to say, to communicate as it is that feels right for you to do in a way that cultivates a healthy self-respect. And that really is the point. That is the great gift of this Mars retrograde season for you now. Now, speaking of your ruling planet, it is going to be your ruling planet that's going to change signs, if only for a little bit in the middle of the year, dipping into the foundation of your chart, along with Neptune as well. This is tricky. I do want to be straightforward with you because it is here that you're going to find the placement of your ruling planet ends up being in a space of tension with you. And that means there's something you might feel deep within that you want to adjust, you want to change. You are reconfiguring the ground on which you stand. You might even be thinking about what foundations you want to lay, that you want to make strong, what your priorities are, what matter to you there on a level of the foundations of your life, and what could be different. Some Capricorns are going to feel inclined or inspired to build something else, to begin again even, but others are going to want to solidify what it is that they already have to ensure that it has the ability to last a really long time. Feeling safe, cultivating security is going to take on greater priority for you now. Aquarius. Well, one of the most important things of 2025 for you has already taken place, and that is Pluto now comfortably in your sign. It was late last year that Pluto moved in. It won't be retrograding in and out anymore. It's in there for a nice long stay of 20 years. But 2025 brings with it a near exact trine. It doesn't get exact until next year, but with Uranus moving into fellow air sign Gemini, this is huge for you. It is ultimately going to be the trine of Pluto and Uranus that is likely to be one of the most important aspects of the 2020s. And you are at the heart of it. You are the one with the power in all of this. It is Uranus moving into a part of the sky for you that has to do with what you want in your heart of hearts in every area of life. That is a game changer for you. This is a little bit of a taste of Uranus also moving out of the foundation of your chart. Since 2018, you've been working on your roots and defining what home is for you and having a different understanding of the foundations of your life. Many Aquarians have transformed their relationships with their family of origin and come to understand their parents differently in some way or their childhoods differently. Well, now the focus comes back to you. What do you really want? What's going to make you happy? What brings you joy? This is also a part of the chart that has to do with windfalls and winnings. And if anybody out there might go from rags to riches, it certainly is you. But you don't want to bet the farm. You want to stay conscious, especially as we get near that trine in the summer. Pay attention to what is taking place for you, especially in the months of July and August. That is when that trine gets mighty close, and it becomes a little bit of a glimpse of what your unique lottery ticket just might be. And it's not necessarily what you think. It is about you understanding with greater self-honesty, greater nuance, what your power actually is and where you may need to be strategic with it by cultivating that spirit of strategy and focusing, and also understanding that divine timing is something you want to tap into as well. Well, yeah, those windfalls become that much more likely for the Aquarians out there. You're about to learn that all of us are born with a lottery ticket of one kind or another, and you're about to make big gains in ways that you just didn't expect. The joy is about to return in a way that's positively elating. And big key moments of the Mars retrograde season in your opposite sign at the beginning of January and also in the last days of April. That's when we're going to have Mars opposite Pluto in your sign. It is a big moment of truth in the context of love, whether it's love from the past, what you had, where you are, what's taken place, what's worked, what hasn't, what you want, what you don't. All of that comes right to the surface, right in front of you. And it's like you have to deal with it. You have to address it. There's no sort of sweeping relationship stuff underneath the rug. You are getting in the trenches now, really looking at what love is going to be for you, what power you have and what you don't. Now, outside of relationships, this could also be business partnerships as well. But ultimately, this energy is showing you what's superficial and what's real and what really matters. And in the process, you just might discover that your answers aren't what you expected. They're actually something that are much more substantive than you realized before. And that puts you in alignment with truly authentic spiritual partnerships. Whether it's with people who are in your life right now as you begin, or whether it's new people, these are changed dynamics, the kinds you haven't known before, but end up being mutually empowering. Pisces, it is a massive year for you. On the one hand, we have a Venus retrograde season that kicks off in the new year from January right to the middle of May, with much of that season being spent with Venus in your sign. In fact, the most important alignments that Venus is going to make, the key characteristics, do involve Venus meeting Saturn repeatedly in your sign, meeting Neptune twice in your sign as well. The big moment to watch is April. That is when Venus slows down, stands still, goes direct while in your sign, while hand in hand with Saturn. This is huge. This is a big moment of truth, whether it's in love, money, joy, pleasure, whether it has to do with your understanding of anything in life that's lush, that's pleasurable to you. All of it is going to be seen very differently. The superficial just doesn't cut it with Saturn. What you are wanting is the long term, and especially where it is that you are one of the Pisceans who's enjoyed the fantasy. It's like it just isn't working the way that you want. But this isn't just about love. Remember that. This is a sweeping energy that is set to be a wake-up call, and it wants you to build something solid moving forward from here in just about every area of life. It gets you honest about where you are in terms of self-love, to make sure that it is an action, that you are demonstrating that to yourself, and not just a story that you're telling, but something you've proven to yourself again and again, consistently over a period of time. Now, add to this the fact that this year, Saturn and Neptune are going to dip out of your sign. Next year, leaving your sign for good. And your whole vibration is about to feel really different. Saturn leaving your sign helps you to feel that much lighter, that much more open. And Neptune leaving your sign is about to have you feel like you've just woken up, where you didn't even realize that you were in a dream, that you were asleep. In an instant, everything looks clearer. Everything looks different, and it might be a bit uncomfortable to be in such a stark place of awareness, of openness, of awakeness, and yet it's exactly what you need as part of building something that you know is real and is authentically yours. You're headed in a really exciting future, and it is something that builds healthy self-respect every step of the way. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great year and a great week. Enjoy.